If you're watching this, it's already too late. What you are about to hear is a story that defies all explanation, a tale that has been suppressed and whispered about in hushed tones for years. It's the story of a young woman named Clara, who moved into an old Victorian house on the outskirts of a forgotten town. It was her dream home, a place of character and history. But some histories are buried for a reason. What happened in that house, specifically what she heard from beneath the floor, is a mystery that some say is better left unsolved. Today, we're going to solve it. It all started subtly, as these things often do. A few weeks after settling in, Clara began to notice a faint rhythmic sound. It was a soft, almost imperceptible thumping that seemed to emanate from directly beneath the living room floorboards. At first, she dismissed it as the house settling, the groans of old wood and pipes. She would turn up the television or play music, and the sound would be swallowed by the noise of her daily life. But in the quiet moments, in the dead of night when the world outside was still, the sound would return. Thump, pause, thump. Consistent, patient, and unnervingly steady. It was like a slow, weak heartbeat. Over the next few days, the sound grew. It was no longer just a faint thumping, but a distinct scratching, a dry, rasping noise like fingernails dragging across rough, splintered wood. Clara would lie awake in bed, her own heart pounding in her chest, trying to match its rhythm to the sound from below. She checked the basement, a dark, damp space filled with cobwebs and forgotten furniture. But the noise was always loudest upstairs, right under her feet in the living room. She called a plumber, an exterminator, and even a structural engineer. They found nothing. No faulty pipes, no rats, no structural issues. They would stand in the living room, heads tilted, and hear nothing but the hum of the old refrigerator. The sounds, it seemed, were for Clara and Clara alone. The isolation began to eat at her. Friends who came to visit would leave, concerned by her pale face and the dark circles under her eyes. She tried to explain the sound, the incessant scratching and thumping, but they would just offer sympathetic smiles and suggest she was stressed. One night, driven by a mix of terror and desperation, she grabbed a crowbar from the toolbox. The sound was louder than ever, a frantic, desperate scraping that vibrated through the soles of her feet. With tears streaming down her face, she began prying at the floorboards in the center of the room. The old wood groaned and splintered, resisting her efforts. Finally, with a loud crack, one of the boards came loose. She peered into the darkness below, her phone's flashlight beam cutting through the gloom. The space between the floor and the earthen foundation was shallow, no more than a few feet deep. It was filled with dust, debris, and the scent of damp soil. And then she saw it. Lying in the dirt was an old, leather-bound book, its cover warped and stained. But it wasn't the book that made her scream. It was what was next to it. Scratched into the underside of the very floorboard she had just ripped up were deep, desperate gouges. And beneath those gouges, embedded in the wood, were fragments of broken fingernails. The scratching hadn't been coming from below the floor. It had been coming from the floor itself. It was the sound of someone trying to get out, not in. The house wasn't haunted by a presence in the basement. It was haunted by the memory of a past struggle, a final, desperate act, imprinted into the very wood she walked on every day. The story of Clara and the sound beneath the floor serves as a chilling reminder that some mysteries are woven into the very fabric of the places we call home. We can try to rationalize them, to explain them away with logic and reason. But sometimes, the truth is far more terrifying than any ghost or monster. It's the echoes of human suffering, trapped in a loop for all eternity. We may never know who was scratching at that floor or why. All we know is that for a time, Clara heard them, and now, so have you. The question you have to ask yourself is, when your house makes a noise in the dead of night, what story is it trying to tell? If you enjoyed this mystery, you know what to do. Until next time, stay safe and try not to listen too closely to the sounds in the dark.